Good evening, everyone. My name is Yasmina Sinanovic, and I am the Director of Finance and Development here at CLAGS, the Center for LGBTQ Studies. CLAGS is the first university-based LGBTQ Studies research center in the United States. We were founded in 1986, and I'm not going to tell you how old I was, but I know some of you were not even born at the time, and we're turning 40 this year. So what? On behalf of CLAGS and our co-sponsor, the Office of Public Programs here at the CUNY Graduate Center, I'm excited to be here with all of you to celebrate our amazing Qween Jean. And to welcome you to our 2026 José Esteban Muñoz Award ceremony. So now I will invite Debarati Biswas to share a few words.
What an evening. Thank you all for joining us. And I am Debarati Biswas, and I am the co-chair of the Board of Directors of CLAGS. I'm also Assistant Professor of African American Studies at City Tech CUNY. The José Muñoz Award honors an activist or artist for their contribution to LGBTQ communities. Past winners include Angela Davis, Miss Major, and Janet Mock. José Esteban Muñoz's capacious and generative work spans several academic fields, and I don't have time to talk about that. But Muñoz was also a CLAGS board member and a supporter of our work. So this year, we are honoring an artist, activist, community leader, and a visionary who furthers the Muñozian desire to see and feel beyond the quagmire of the present. So please join me in congratulating this year's winner, Qween Jean. I know everyone knows, but she's a daughter of Haiti, spiritual daughter of Marsha P. Johnson, the founder of Black Trans Liberation, costume designer extraordinaire, community organizer, and the first out trans woman to win a Tony Award. The format for the evening will be a conversation between Qween and our board co-chair extraordinaire, Dr. Terrence Wooden, followed by audience Q&A and a presentation of the Muñoz Award. I will invite our dear Maddie Beaton to say a few words about Qween and Terrence. Thank you all.
I'm Maddie Beaton, Communications Fellow at CLAGS, PhD student in urban education, and part of the LGBTQ Studies Advanced Certificate Program at the Graduate Center. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Terrence Wooden, co-chair of the CLAGS Board of Directors and Associate Professor of Africana Studies at Davidson College. It is a queer and trans blessing to gather with you all this evening to celebrate Tony Award winner, world builder, beloved matriarch, and fierce human rights activist, Qween Jean. I am truly honored to introduce Qween, who I've had the gift of being in community with since 2020. In her Broadway debut, Qween swept the award season. Last week, she made history as the first openly trans woman to win a Tony Award. She did so for her stunning costume designs in Cats, the Jellicle Ball. She She is also a two-time Tony nominee, receiving the honor for Best Costume Design of a Play in Liberation. She is the Dorian LGBTQ Theater Artist of the Season, an Obie Award winner, and received a special citation from the New York Drama Critics Circle. Off-Broadway, she won the Lucille Lortel Award for Outstanding Costume Design in Saturday Church. She is the co-author of Revolution is Love, a year of Black trans liberation, a visual and narrative celebration of an activist movement. Qween Jean founded Black Trans Liberation, a vital organization committed to ending homelessness and food insecurity within the trans population by providing weekly meals, mutual aid, and life-affirming fellowship while empowering and celebrating the community. BTL radiates an abundance of love, care, access, and joy. Shout out to the whole Black Trans Liberation family here tonight. I love you all so much. Please support the life-affirming work of this nourishing organization. In her Tony Award acceptance speech, Qween Jean highlighted the legacy of trans matriarchs, especially Miss Major Griffin Gracie. As mentioned earlier, Miss Major was our 2023 Muñoz Award recipient. I personally will never forget being in DC for the Gender Liberation March in September of 2024 with a multitude of trans activists and organizers, watching Qween and Miss Major embrace, hold each other in love, and bask in the power and lineage of Black trans liberation. It feels so right to continue this legacy tonight. From speaking truth to power on a megaphone, leading hundreds of activists across the Williamsburg Bridge, to Marsha P. Johnson State Park, to cozy restorative fellowships at Judson on a Wednesday night, to the scintillating Tony Award Broad-winning stage of Cats, Qween Jean weaves tapestries of freedom dreams that light our futures. Please join me in giving an abundance of applause and celebration to the fabulous and iconic Qween Jean.
I'm so excited. And it's an honor and pleasure to share the stage with you, although very nerve-wracking because beyond the fact that I was like, I gotta be on my P's and Q's, but also I was like, I gotta be on point aesthetically.
Okay.
So as I was preparing for tonight, and this is echoed in the introductions and the reverence that folks have given to you, I realized that I couldn't separate you or your work into discrete categories like costume design, activism, organizing, mutual aid. Rather, across all of it, I keep seeing a person who builds spaces for Black trans people where they can gather, be nourished, be beautiful, be recognized by one another. So I'd love to begin there. What feels like the thread that connects all of those different practices for you?
Thank you so much for this question. I really want to start first and to say thank you. I want to just thank every person that has come out tonight, every community member, every fist in the fight, every lover, every dreamer, every person that has said yes to a new and a better world for each and every one of us. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. We know that pride is essential. However, we know that pride is each and every day. And the work that everyone in this room has committed themselves to is speaking to that and is the proponent for the world that we desire to see. So I just want to say, I not only see it, I rejoice in knowing that we're creating something completely transformative together. Thank you all so much. Thank you. And this question really resonates with me as I think about the importance of survival. And as an artist, it's crucial. I mean, we got to survive or the work doesn't continue. And so that exists in movement work as well. We have to take action. And we continuously understand that it isn't an overnight journey. It actually takes a lot of time to be able to, as I often think, to feed and to educate. We organize, we agitate, And for me, that has really been like the through line is community. Knowing that there's community in every section of humanity, there's community in every part of this life, there's community in artistry, there's community in organizing, there's community in this room, amen to that. And so for me, that knowing that, for me, that has to be the conduit. That's the catalyst. The very people that are often impacted are the very ones that are fighting for their lives. The very people that are struggling, that don't have the rent, that may not have an opportunity, are the first ones that are willing to throw their lives on the line. Because they might not have health care, so I'm gonna do everything in my power to ensure the next person has it. And as transgender people, we are in a moment where it is so blatantly a state of emergency. There have been 14 transgender people on record that have passed away, have been unalived in the last 2 months. So as a Black trans woman that's approaching her 35, I hope to see it. And as many people in this room that are even younger than me, what is their trajectory? We have seen that this violence is at the local level. It's at the government level, judicial. It also exists in the ways that we interact, even in the education system. Oftentimes there may be violence there as well that keeps people shut out, that opportunities aren't always presented or allow people the sustainability to finish their education, knowing that you have to combat with everything else that you're doing. And so for me, the community has been, from my personal experience, has been my saving grace. Knowing that I've had a home to go to each and every week outside of the prison that exists of society, that oftentimes will build bars around you, will continuously put more shackles on your ankles, your feet. They want to barricade your mouth, even your tongue, for speaking out. And that has been a healing balm, knowing that there's a community that not only looks like me, but that also desires, and we crave the same thing. A world where Black people are no longer fearing, where transgender people at any age of their transition are able to flourish, where queer people and immigrants, and many like myself that live at all of those intersections, are not afraid to step out and afraid to claim what is theirs. For people that exist on all parts of this continent, people that exist in Palestine, people that exist in the Congo, in the Sudan, in Lebanon, Iran. I mean, there are people that have called home because that is where they took their first breath. And they are now being told that you don't belong there. There are transgender people that are born and raised in this nation that are being told that they might be eradicated. So if we are not able to find the corollaries there, then we have a bigger problem. And in the 1960s, if we were able to abolish segregation, we should be able to abolish all of the forms of oppression. We should also be able to abolish when we think about occupation, to abolish this notion that somehow people in power can dictate a woman's body, a queer person's body, a person that can give birth, their body. It is outrageous that in 2026, we are still protesting for the sanctity and for the fidelity of democracy that we are told we have to uphold. And so for me, the community has been an anchor in my life. Because at any moment I know that, and I often recite this quote by the matriarch, powerhouse Lucille Clifton, "Oh, won't you come and celebrate with me? For every day, something has tried to kill me, and it has failed."
Well, that was a word, and
I don't know if I answered the question, but
no.
my people are who keep me grounded, and my people are everywhere I'm at.
I'm like, wait a minute, you answered all my questions. Hold on. Like, let me get into my improv bag. No. But to improv, I do want to follow up and ask a question. So about the centrality of community, because community is not something that just happens, happenstance. It's something that we have to work at building. So what are the ways in which you have gone about building community? How can we build community? And what are the kinds of practices that are necessary for both building and sustaining community?
Community is a enriching filament, and a filament meaning like a fiber. When you put more together, it gets stronger. And I just want to uplift something that India Moore shared at a Blessings fundraiser. She said that our community, we are stronger than steel and softer than silk. And so when I think about building community, each filament, each person, when we come together, we create something that is undeniably beautiful, undeniably powerful. And to me, that has been my experience, a blessing. Being able to activate during the summer of 2020, the protests. But that wasn't a new space for me. I, like many people, I remember I was at Union Square when the video came out around Eric Garner and that the truth was revealed for the first time. We were all told, a large chocolate human being was selling cigarettes and somehow that's against the law, But then we saw this video of someone that was extremely vulnerable, pleading for help, trying to share that their lungs were being suffocated and that they could no longer breathe. And what did those officers do? They knelt harder. And so as a human being to then witness this same imagery, the same terror on May 25th, 2020, I lost something inside me broke. And I will say that I have then spent, since that day, it was a Thursday, I feel like I've spent every day trying to heal it. And what helps me to heal that fracture is being with people that I love. Being able to give back. I remember Dr. King said in an interview that being in service is the highest form of praise that we can give God. Because thank you is powerful. We can say thank you, but to be in service. And so for me, knowing that my journey, even into this body as a beautiful Black trans person, how you doing? Hello. They tried to tell me I wouldn't do it, but I did. They said I couldn't do it. I said, well, let me give it a try. Actually, the person that is here, oh my God, I hope they don't mind shouting out. I was so scared about accessing healthcare. And what I was scared of was many things. Being Black, having a diagnosis, and also knowing that the world, at that time, seeing what was already happening to transgender people, I was mortified. I want to give them less things to destroy. But the fire inside me was like, you have to pursue this. And my sibling, Brentisha, where they at? They're right here. Hey, Brentisha. I was so nervous. I said, I got dressed up and Brent said, you have to go to Callan Lord. You're going to march in there and tell them you need to be connected to care. And I was like, well, what if they tell me no? Go upstairs. I tell you not. And so that's family. That's community. And I was so mortified because I felt like, they wouldn't take me serious. They couldn't see what I was trying to get to. And I did march up to that 4th floor. And I said, my name is Qween. I know it says something different on this ID, but it's Qween with a W. And I need hormones. And I also just want to uplift that it's because of leaders that have pioneered Cecilia Gentili, who created the Coin Clinic at Callan Lord, that made those resources possible for a young trans queer immigrant person like myself to be able to receive that care. So I know that didn't answer the question, but I just wanted to loop that because it felt divine in that moment. But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have a battery pack reignited in my own back to say that you have to push forward. Even if they tell you no, keep going. There's stairs, take them. So that's a testament for life, okay? Even if they try to tell you no, baby, find every door that you can. There's a stairwell, there's somebody coming out, you put your foot in, okay? Because I got something to do, I have a story to tell, and you have to do it. Because the person inside of you, the fire that dwells within, will only continue to burn until it is there, until it's manifested. And so, yes. I don't know if I answered the question, beloved. Oh my God, what was the question again?
No.
Okay, no. Okay, I got you. Sorry. I got so wrapped in love just now. But how to really, to be honest, to build community is to be a practitioner and to be a listener. Knowing what people need and being able to respond. I think oftentimes I've witnessed in different spaces where, even in organizing community, where there's a prompt or there's this immediacy, it's like, okay, everyone's here, we're all showing up, these are our directives, we're putting our bodies on the line. And I feel like a lot of people, we've done that. But I felt like oftentimes as a person emerging, trying to find my voice in those spaces, I felt like we weren't speaking to the full expanse of humanity. And more specifically, we were only, uplifting Black heterosexual men that have been harmed by the state. And yet the amount of Black women that are harmed by the state are even outnumber that. And they happen so often. So our sisters, Black women and girls, and our femmes that are harmed get suppressed and silenced, even by sometimes our own community. But that's shifting. Hey, there's a shift happening. And so because of that, I felt I could not just be a part of the status quo of that. There's a duty here, as Assata Shakur reminds us, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. And I know that my siblings, they must have their freedom. And so in a space where we're calling for Black liberation, if we've omitted or somehow suppressed the transgender, the gender expansive, the nonconforming people that are right there next to you, then we're not doing what we're supposed to do. A liberation movement is just that. It is growing, it is expanding, it is breaking barriers upon every terrain. And it is a movement of people, all people, that allow it to sustain. And so those are the things that I've witnessed and experienced here in New York City, fighting for Black liberation, understanding and knowing that must include all of our communities, Indigenous people, queer people, Palestinian people, Indigenous folks, immigrants, that didn't have to contribute, but we know that are so embedded in the fiber, the fidelity, and the foundation of a nation that has quite literally stolen property to create profit. Then imprisoned people trying to garner some of that profit back in the ways that they knew how to. And so in 2026, I often laugh and then I cry, knowing that the severity of what the system is trying to do, it will do everything in its power to neutralize the movement. But maybe if they couldn't kill the movement in 1969, they ain't killing it now. Yeah. And more importantly, we have to understand that building community is an act of love. It's an act of service. We can't build community that's just homogenous. It just can't be a movement just solely for allies. It's not just for accomplices. It's not just for the 1%. The community has to look like, mirror the everyday human being that is being barricaded from salvation, that is being told that their efforts aren't going to be able to allow them to proceed, that their experience is still not enough. And we know that these are terms or excuses that for generations have silenced and oppressed us. But more specifically, we understand now in 2026, the amount of even Black women that have lost their jobs. And these are women with doctorate degrees, PhDs. We're not talking about that. But that is what this current administration has done, has targeted. And so I am acutely aware of what's at stake. And that is our future. That is our children's future. Our elders who have quite literally put their bodies on the line for generations, for decades, that have been pumping in the street. I think about Mother Miss Major Griffin Gracie and the last 2 years of her life toured the entire nation to protest for trans youth liberation. After everything she had to endure, after being barricaded up in upstate, after being dehumanized, after having to be bludgeoned by the circumstances, she still did not bow her head. She fought for the dignity and the wellness of formerly incarcerated human beings that were coming out and needed an opportunity, that are now thriving. Many of those folks, like myself, like other family members, that have continued this fight. But it is not lost on me that many of our leaders, our elders, our pioneers, are still struggling and still fighting to this day. I think about Cecilia Gentili organizing up until the week before she passed. And so how do we break that curse? And I say that it's a curse because it feels like, oh my God, everyone's struggling. But then somehow there's this, the pendulum, as it were, right? It strikes back. But what if we were actually, as a community, knowing this, to create and to sustain ourselves so that the people at the front are not only comforted, but are able to still flourish, while the ones coming after are able to pass the baton. And I do desire for a world where we don't have to organize. Hey, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice that we don't have to demand that law enforcement and public safety are not public terrorists? Where we are seeing young people unlawfully be targeted for crimes and circumstances. I think about what happened in Texas. I mean, there are so many stories, and then there are many more stories that aren't being told. People caught in the margins, still being marginalized. And so it is up to all of us. The people sitting in this room, the people outside, people virtually, wherever you may be, if you hear this, if you have consciousness left in you, to activate. There is terror on the outside looking to embed all of its fear, all of its insecurities, all of its hatred, its venom into the minds of every person in America. To say that the person next to you, they're gonna take everything that you have, knowing all in the well, we don't have much. What have we been left with? Yet somehow the person that has traveled on foot, on land to get to this nation and to contribute and to create something for their families and for themselves is the enemy. The transgender person trying to change their passport so it best reflects who they are is not the enemy. The Black person that is stopped by the police yet again, who is saying, I know my rights. I won't open up this door. I need a lawyer. And yet we've seen that they've now deployed venomous militia under the guise, honey, of ICE agents to terrorize anybody, right? They were supposed to be criminals. I guess if you're Black, brown, queer, a lesbian, a dyke, a queer, a trans, we've seen them violate humans, families, elders, infants, mothers that were intervening and being witnesses. We've seen our veterans be harmed by these militia. And in 2026, if we cannot say enough is enough, then we are going to be consumed. And we refuse to be consumed. I refuse to be consumed in a world that has tried to take everything from me. These agents have to go. We must abolish ICE immediately. We have to shut down concentration camps under the guise of detention centers. It is not a detention center. These are grown-up human beings, parents. They are now on record said they will no longer be recording the fatalities at these detention centers. A green light for more terror to happen. And so, do we sit down? Do we link arms? Do we knock on doors? Do we refuse to give in? Whatever you do, I pray that you do something. Because at this rate, 2027 will not only be bloodshed, it will be a disaster. And as queer people in this time, someone was saying, well, what are the intersectionalities between politics and queer people? What? There's no What's queer is political. What's trans is political. What's American is political. I mean, it is all interwoven. And there's no separation. What separates us is the myths or the misinformation that some of us have ingested and that some of us are trying to expel. And for me in this moment, I often reflect about the day that America says we've actually had enough. When will racism end? When will we stop being accessories to ongoing murder and violence? When will we stop allowing genocide to continue by American-funded dollars? When will we stop allowing politicians and misbelievers, misleaders, because they're not leading us nowhere good? When will we allow and to suspend that type of misinformation? So I think for me in this moment, I know that what is happening here in New York City affects what's happening down south. It affects what's happening at the borders. It affects what's happening when I think about the atrocities in Palestine, when I think about the families that are still impacted in Sudan and Congo, in Haiti as a Haitian trans person, knowing that the imperialism is still suffocating and bludgeoning us today. And so these are the myriad of intersections that a lot of us are trying to confront. And in 2026, if a young trans kid is being denied access to healthcare and resources, we have regressed. We're going to be going back to the trans water fountain, other water fountain. At that point, we've had enough. Immigrants, will we allow for the same system that carried out McCarthyism, that carried out Jim Crow, to allow fascism to rear its head yet again? Seeing the ICE agents at the airport enraged me. They're normalizing their terror. And we as a people are smiling. And so what'll happen on 4th of July? Happy 250th America. But that'll be a reminder to us, 250 years of oppression.
So interconnectedly to this notion of liberation movements and liberation building and community building and practice, what I'm struck about also in your work simultaneously is how seriously you also take clothing, performance as ways of transforming relationships and relationality. So I'd love for you to reflect on what fashion and costume and adornment make possible, not simply aesthetically, but socially and politically in this world-building practices.
I love clothes as much as I love my freedom.
Okay.
I do. And I would say that clothing for me has always felt like armor. And maybe that's because being a young person trapped in maybe the wrong body, who knows, I felt like I had to survive through clothing. I had to assimilate, I had to code switch, I had to bypass, I had to form myself into something that wouldn't be a disruption to other people. Yet I still got bullied. So I said, well, shit, I might as well wear the hell I want to wear and fight back. And so I've had the honor to be able to create, to me, clothing and the work that I do as a designer feels like architecture of imagination. And that architecture is crucial because we are being able to create and to translate information about humanity, information about relationships, information about adolescence, self-actualization through an outfit, through a garment. And it's powerful. And to me, it's how we all survive. What we wear oftentimes allows us to feel free, feel happy, feel sexy, if you want to feel that, to feel confident. I grew up around mentors and leaders that, would say that women have to adopt a very particular style of dress in order to be taken seriously. And I was like, what? Who said that? We can't wear what we want to wear and still be rock stars and still be leaders and still be championing a better world. And so for me, that I've pushed back, and in the work that I've done, I really pushed that, the imagination, the threshold of what's comfortable. What's comfortable is when you feel unstoppable. And I felt the most unstoppable in a pair of little kitten heels, a little do-do-do-do-do-do. And so I invite the storytellers that I collaborate with to go on this journey with me. And oftentimes, it's life-changing. People that have felt like, oh, I've never worn this before. Well, why not? Or that's not what men are supposed to wear, my favorite. Men aren't supposed to wear that? Oh my God! How do you define a man? What? As a human being, I think that we've all been conditioned to reduce our power and to dim our light so that somehow we can all kind of be obscure together. We no longer desire obscurity. There is divine light and power in each and every single person. And imagine if we were all even more empowered to do that, the light that could shine, the truth that would be revealed. There would be no more bullies, because even the bullies would feel unstoppable. They wouldn't have to criticize the next person. We could end insecurity for everybody. And I think that has been a dream, or that's my little secret mission in all that I do, to infiltrate through clothing. Because when you're sitting across from someone, do you really hate them? And I think sometimes I feel, I can speak about Cats at Jellicle Ball. There have been people that have come to see this show that have felt, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, there's like this resistance. I'm not gonna like it, but I'm coming. Okay. And then you see a 6'4" lady in 4-inch boots, leopard, doing this, this little, the legs up to the ear with a 60-inch bust down. Joy. You have to surrender to the beauty that is humanity, the beauty that is queer culture, that is people being themselves. That is not a crime. It is absolutely a way forward. And I think as a designer, knowing that, it's unlocked a lot of power for myself. In a space or industry that prides itself on traditionalism, sometimes, ragtime, okay. I've seen somewhere, this is, I'm sharing a quote. I'm sharing a quote here. I'm sharing a quote that there are some people that felt that people in power were more comfortable seeing Black suffering on a Broadway stage than Black liberation. And I think in 2026, we need more Black liberation on Broadway stages. We need more women's liberation on Broadway stages. We need more immigrants on Broadway stages. We need more queer and more explosive stories of truth. We need to return all the indigenous property and land and consumption back to the people. We just can't make acknowledgments anymore. We got to start reckoning and making some real deep investments. And in this moment, I think about moments where I was almost forced to quit. But community intervened. And I didn't quit. And I think now if I would have quit, there might not have been a Tony, there might not have been this fight, this roar that we make when we come together. It is powerful. It is intoxicating. Hearing people in complete bliss is so magical. And that's all people, from toddlers to elders, from 8 to 88, everybody in between. It is the most glorious thing to witness and to have contributed to a culture that has given me so much. It's given all of us. The resilience of the queer people in 1980 that said, not only will we show up, we're gonna push back, we're gonna fight back, we're gonna act up and fight back. That same message, those same leaders, those same queer bodies are still present in 2026. Demanding an even more just world. And we're gonna bend that arc towards justice each and every day. And that's only possible because we've said yes. There's power in yes. There's power in being of service to something greater than ourselves. There is the ability to love humanity outside of our own. In the moment that happens, we start making real change. As I said on the stage, we're about to shift the paradigm. It's how that happens. Yes, we would all love, honey, to abolish white supremacy tonight. In the next 2 minutes, let's abolish it together. It's gotta go. But we know and love very people that are within families, within prison, there are people that are still harboring biases, injustices, fear. They're unwilling to love thy neighbor, but then we can't get abortions. We can't actually protect our bodies. Yet they'll be happy to see another Black young one be taken away. They'll be quick to then deny a trans person their actual health care. then we know that the rates of impact of that are crucial and harrowing. And so the same people that are trying to keep us on this straight line, child, break the line. We're not on the chain gang anymore. This is the liberation gang. And our power only continues to expand and to evolve and to deepen each time we are together. Each time we're sharing not only just the message, but we're sharing the possibility of a world that is untethered to white supremacy, that is untethered to gender binary, that is untethered to a capitalistic, ventured mindset. Let me tell you something. I think about like the week in which they started to tear up all the Black Lives Matter streets and the murals. Did the white people run and put their bodies there? No! They watched it happen. So solidarity is not conditional. Okay, it didn't resonate. Solidarity is not conditional. These things are put as a reminder. And I often have this conversation so many times. Well, we know that Black Lives Matter. Yes, but I'm also seeing Christopher Columbus occupationist, genocider. Each and every day we come to this park, and yet we're supposed to be okay with that. No. These are symbols of oppression. Yet by trying to carve out Black trans lives matter, Black queer joy, that upsets people. It upsets them because it's the truth. People are more comfortable with living with a lie. As Cecilia Gentili said, honey, she said, I would proudly live a shorter life of authenticity than a longer life full of lies. So which are we gonna do? And I believe we can have a everlasting life filled with love and truth and compassion. We just have to commit to it. And that commitment is difficult. It's extremely difficult. It's not easy. If it was easy, child, we wouldn't even have to have a pride. We'd feel it. There'd be no homophobia. There'd be no transphobia. There'd be no Zionism. There'd be no xenophobia. There would not be these structures that continuously are fueled as a way to uphold a mentality. And sometimes that mentality is about, enriching a bloodline, this subculture. And while I understand that, absolutely sure, okay, we can go with that. But if that culture or if that idea, that methodology exists because it's dehumanizing, denying someone else's opportunity to live, we can't allow it. And we can't ignore that. We have to, this is detrimental and it's complicit. And so I'm grateful to be alive. And I'm also grateful that we have more time to heal, to love, to make changes. We have more time to get free. And it's possible. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for the love of this community, the love of each and every single person in this room. Even if in happenstance and short exchanges, we have all been able to breathe life and care into each other. Whether it be a protest or a mutual aid event or coming to see a production, it's in these moments, it's in these ways that we're able to heal civilization. And I think that is at the core of what Toni Morrison speaks to. We all have to do our part in this revolution. And your part might be singing. Your part might be making flyers. Yours might be, look, I'm talking to all the aunties. Right. We got to get them We gotta wiggle them back, honey, to love. You know, part of it might literally be about educating about the international warfare that exists for Arab nations, for Caribbean nations, for the entire continent of Africa that is continuously siphoned for its resources and then told that it's barbaric. What? But uprooting people and their legacy and their land is not barbaric. And so again, who gets to determine the fidelity of a culture to legitimize culture, to legitimize nationality? That's not our job. We're there to protect it, to support it, to ensure that it has every vying chance that you want and need to live further and to be a better person. That's the word that I'm fighting for. And I pray that y'all continue to fight with me. Thank you.
The 2026 José Esteban Muñoz Award is presented to the one and only Qween Jean.